All right, Coach. Quick hitters right off the top. Toast or biscuits? Because I'm a breakfast man.
Funny story. Neither now. Because
Neither
now I am diabetic, and
Really?
I got diagnosed 2 years ago, type 1 diabetes. Yeah, in the middle of basketball season. It was crazy.
Oh.
So now, I guess if I had a choice, I would say toast because it's less carbs.
There you go. I like the way you broke that down. Okay. Burgers or hot dogs? I know that's more bread, but
It's
we in it.
okay. Hamburgers.
I love it. I like the way you think.
Okay.
Would you rather do dishes or laundry?
Laundry.
Except for folding up?
No, I can do that. I kind of like it.
First that said that. Okay. When it comes to drinks, paper or plastic? When it comes to cups?
Oh. Plastic.
Okay. Last but not least,
Okay.
let me get 2 of your favorite songs, any genre of all time.
Oh, goodness. Over the Rainbow.
There we go. I like it.
And
Classic.
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
One is better than none.
I know. Okay, we'll go with that.
Appreciate
one.
that, Coach. Now we can get into it. Now, what's your bio, Coach? Where you from? Where did it all start for Katie Bass? Where was the beginning?
Okay. Born and raised in Edmond, Oklahoma.
Okay.
Okay. Like my whole life. I even actually went back and went to college back in Edmond, but yeah, I started in Edmond, Oklahoma. I have 2 sisters younger than me. My dad is Paul Bass, which everybody always, that's where it started. My father.
You got it in you, not on you.
Yeah. So that's my start of my life. Do you want me to go into anything basketball? What?
Well, before we go there, we gotta talk about the dynamic in the household. You're the oldest of 3, right?
Okay.
Now, what's the difference in age between you and your sisters?
Me and my second sister, 2.5 years, and then my youngest were 7 years apart.
Okay, so you and your second one, y'all grew up together, sort of.
We did. Well, okay, so crazy story. My life is very crazy. You'll figure this out.
All right, I'm with it.
I am my father's only child.
Okay.
But my sisters, they have the same father. So I actually lived with my mom up until I was 8. So my parents got divorced when I was right before I turned 1.
Oh yeah, you probably have recollection.
No, yeah. So I lived with my sisters, and I would go see my dad, every other weekend. And then when I turned 8, my mom decided that this would be the great time for you to go live with your father. So So at 8 years old is when I went from having sisters and that to now I'm the only child with my dad and my stepmom. And my stepmom's been my stepmom since I was 5.
Wow.
So they still lived in Edmond, so it was not far, and I would still go back to my mom's every other weekend. But yeah.
Did you notice a difference in yourself though whenever you went to your dad?
Yes, my dad is very different, structured and rule follower and things like that, and I was more free, I guess, at my mom's.
Oh wow.
And then you have your siblings, so
True.
it's different.
For some reason in my mind, I thought you were gonna say you turned into being spoiled because now all of a sudden you're the only child.
You would think that, I think,
Right.
but I think my dad was just a very, structured person, and so it actually was good for my life. It made me, and that's when I started playing sports.
There you go.
So.
Good segue, Coach. I like the way you did that. So when did organized sports first find you, or you found it? Do you remember what age?
That was it.
About 8? Was it basketball always?
Well, actually, no. It was softball first.
All right.
Okay. I always played slow pitch, and I was pretty good at it. And then my dad tried to put me in fast pitch, and then that was I just didn't, that was not my cup of tea.
I feel it.
But that's when I started playing basketball. My dad has always been a football player, and football. Everything was football for him. He played a little bit of basketball in high school,
right?
But he started his basketball journey in life coaching me. So he started YMCA at the age of 8.
How cool was it cool? Was it fun for you to play for dad, or was it oh man, I wish he would just be dad?
I think that there was I think in my earlier ages it was good for me. I needed that structure, and I needed that. I was kind of a crazy kid, I think. And so it caused me I guess just to be more structured within that sport. And then as it went on, he was my assistant basketball coach in high school. So my dad was the assistant basketball coach at Edmond Santa Fe.
Right.
And the year I graduated, he then became the head coach. So I went off to college. So Coach Leah Beer was my head coach.
Right.
And so it was he wasn't actually my head coach, so he was my assistant. So it was kind of the best of both worlds, maybe.
I hear that. So you had your good cop right here, just in case he got a little bit too heavy on you. Did you ever get to a point to where you kind of stopped hearing him? You know what I mean? I went through that too.
Okay, so we laugh about that now.
All right.
Now, during it, probably not.
Not so
funny.
funny.
Did you not hear me? And I'd be like, no, I didn't hear you. It's one of those things where like you tend to block it out. Mm-hmm. I didn't really.
You hear him, but you
ain't
listening.
I started to do that more towards my junior and senior year.
I got you.
But when I was younger, I had to listen. So
for sure. Yeah, it's like dang. In the trip, like once we come of age, like we listen to him more because we don't have to for some reason,
True.
as opposed to when they just got the thumb on us. I don't know about you, but hey, Daddy, man, you got some information for me real quick? It's just like that.
Yeah.
But as far as basketball goes, or athletics period, were you one of those where it came natural to you, or were you a late bloomer? Did it take a while for you to get good?
I think I don't think I was ever like a late bloomer. I think ever since I started, I always had to work 10 times harder than everybody else. I'm not naturally athletic by any means. Everybody always laughs my vertical's like half an inch. No,
there you go.
I just everything from like ladder drills to foot drills to shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So if I knew that I wasn't going to be the most athletic, I had to be the best skilled wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I always had to, stay after, work longer. And, my shot is the only thing that saved me.
Yeah.
So that was the one thing that I knew I could bring to the game. So literally, I think that's majority of all I worked on besides my footwork, just because I needed to get quicker and be able to guard people faster than me.
For sure. It's a trip how the game has evolved, because I can remember when having good shooting was a luxury. Now it's a necessity. You got to have it.
You got to.
You know what I mean? So did you always know you wanted to coach? Is that something that you figured out early?
Both my parents are teachers. And
okay.
My mom taught in Edmond for 20 some odd years. My dad obviously is still teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just knew at a young age I wanted to be a teacher. That's all. But the game on the side of X's and O's always came natural to me. So I think by not just being a skill player, I also understood the game better than most of my teammates.
Had that IQ.
And so, yes. And so that helped me. Okay. Because if I'm not as athletic, these are the areas that I can contribute. So, so that part, I feel like helped me a lot in that scheme, I guess. What was your question? I do that. I go off.
But you know what? You said something that triggered me, because I don't want to skip your college chapter. Tell me about that. After you graduated high school, what was the next move for you?
Oh, okay. So, you asked me if I always wanted to be a coach. That's what you asked me. Okay.
Most people will tell me that they found that knack or that niche in college. That's where I thought you were going to take me.
Okay.
But we're there now.
No, I think I always knew I wanted to be a basketball coach, even in high school. I wanted to be a basketball coach, and I wanted to be a teacher. So much that I literally graduated with exactly 124 credits, because I knew I didn't want to do anything else but that. That the dean of the college went back and checked my transcript 4 times, because they've never had a college student. You always take extra classes, or you take foo-foo classes that don't count.
True.
And I
literally
buffer
a little bit.
Stuck to the plan, and I never waved. So it was funny. But yeah, I went and played. I got a full ride at Oklahoma Panhandle State University.
Oh, you were out there, weren't you? Yeah.
From Edmond, Oklahoma to Podunk, Oklahoma was a very cultural shock for me.
How long was that trip?
4 hours.
Yeah,
4.5.
That's enough.
I guess if I drove my car, it was 4.
There you go. Yeah. Got to get there.
It was an interesting culture shock for me, just because city life to out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
I mean, it was all about being cowboys and rodeoing and all that. So it was
city girl in the country.
Yes, that was hard for me. That was hard. But I think that's when it hit me that my future in basketball was more being a coach than a player. And I ended up only playing 1 year, and then I decided my education was suffering a little bit, because I think I was so focused on college, and you got to wake up at 5, and it just was this. It's a job, and I tell kids that all the time. You have kids that want to go on to the next level, and I always tell them you have to love it.
You really do.
Because your education matters. You're getting a free ride. Those credits need to count too. And so I decided that I think I need to go back home. I got real homesick.
Did it happen early, first semester type?
Yes, and so that's why the second semester I felt like I started losing myself on who I was as a person. And I think that's why I feel like college athletes need so much mental health-wise, to deal with all that dynamic. And I feel like you see a lot of kids go in depression during those 2 years. And that actually happened to me. And so I realized that I need to go back home. And then that's when I went to UCO. I stopped playing and I started being my dad's assistant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was coaching
you were
the freshmen.
basically interning.
I did, yeah. And I coached the freshmen there at Santa Fe. So, yeah.
That's how you got in, huh?
Yep.
Well, let me back up just a little bit, because
Okay.
I know we just met a couple of minutes ago, but
Yes, I know.
you don't seem like the type of person that'll go easy on yourself. And so what I'm gearing up to ask you is, how did you know when, okay, this is a little bit past me just being a baby. I am really like losing myself a little bit, and I need to redirect. Like, do you remember when that point was?
Yeah, I actually do. I have my best friend to this day was also my college teammate. She was from a little town out there, Hardesty, Oklahoma, which is like, she graduated with like 6 people. All right.
Wow.
So yeah.
Quickest commencement ever.
Yes.
Bam.
So she, we talk about it to this day. She would come and I would sleep like 12 hours. Like I would sleep. The only time I would wake up is to eat or go to practice. And the rest of the time I would sleep. Right.
Wow.
So mentally I was like, this isn't, I'm not at a good, and she remembers banging on my door trying to get me to wake up. And I'd be like, I'm fine. Leave me alone. Blah, blah, blah. Well, I remember having conversations, like calling my dad and calling my mom, like, what's going on? And basketball was up and down for whatever reasons were. But I realized that I'm losing myself,
Right.
And I think, it actually got worse before it got better, because when you decide not to play a sport that you've played your whole life, that's your identity. That's what you fill your life and your time with. So when that's taken out, then it's like, what do I do with my life?
Right.
And so you have to find other ways to keep your mind and things busy. So I think my pride, though, caused me to not admit the fact that there was something wrong with me.
I got you.
Because when you're a basketball player or any kind of athlete, admitting that you're not okay is like a pride deal. Like,
it really is.
So,
it really is. Did you ever think about having to answer those questions once you got back home, when people saw you and they're like, wait a minute, I thought you were such and such. What happened?
Yes. And
How
that
did
was
that
hard
go?
for me too. And I had gained a lot of weight too. And as a female,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like our college coach made us lift like heavy weight, less reps. So we just got massive,
Getting
right?
bulky, huh?
Yes. And so
Okay.
I went from, I think I gained 40 pounds my first year. So when I come back, not only am I not playing, now they're like, whoa, what happened to you?
You got all this weight you don't need.
So it just was like a whole, just crash. But I found my love of coaching that helped me get back out of it.
For sure.
So,
Now, when you started coaching, what would that make you? Maybe 19, 20 years old at that point?
yeah, I was 20 years old. Yeah, I was 2021. Well, no, yeah, 18, 19, and then 20. Yep.
How difficult was it for you to communicate with those girls? Because I can remember when I first started my career, I was coaching girls, and I was 20.
Really?
I was 22 years old, and I'll later on I'm gonna let you know how I know you.
Okay.
But I was 22, and I knew, okay, the oldest girl in this program is 18, maybe 19.
Yeah.
So I know I can't come in there with the iron fist. I had to figure out a different way to open those lines of communication. How did you do it?
So I think I could relate with them more. You're younger, right? But there's a really fine line between that. I think my younger years of coaching, that was a really hard line to find of, I'm your coach. If you need me, I'm here. But there's that line where it's hard for them to not cross, like, you're my friend or are you my coach?
Right.
And that was really hard for me. I've always been kind of feisty.
You don't say.
Okay. And so that helped. I've always been an aggressive person. That's who I am by nature. And some of these girls I'd known, obviously, because I've watched them and I would come watch my dad coach. So it's not like I wasn't involved or knew them.
True.
So there was a respect there also, just because of the player I was.
You had credibility.
So that helped. They knew what I was talking about. So it wasn't like, because there's a lot of kids out there that you got to dig. It takes a while for them to really understand that, oh, they do know what they're talking about.
That's right. Did you ever have to get out there and mix it up with them just to show them that, hey,
Yes.
listen, I'm not just talking this. I can
And
still roll y'all up.
part of my coaching when I was younger is actually going up and down, right, and playing, and that was the fun part. Also kept you in shape, but you could prove some points there.
I like that. I think you said, did you say you were coaching the freshman girls?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yep.
That's interesting because I didn't have a team given to me my first year, I don't think, and it probably was the best thing. Did you want it that way, or did it just happen? Like, hey, Katie, you got a team of your own.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, my dad. I think that's what my dad did for me early in my coaching career. That actually made me, I don't know, a stronger coach than most people my age. Is because sometimes throwing you in there is the best way to learn.
True.
And it's scary, right? And then you're gonna have a lot of downs and ups than sitting back observing for a while and then, learning from all the mistakes the person did in front of you.
Sure.
Right? But now, I get to learn through my own.
That's
and
right.
so I think that helped me.
More importantly, you had a sideline presence then.
Yes.
Big time.
And and I think another thing that he taught me too, which I do to my own assistants to this day, is he doesn't sit on the sideline with you. He doesn't sit right there next to you. He doesn't nudge you and say, do this, He kind of stands behind or stands in the bleachers and he kind of just look over and he'll kind of give you an eye or you should do this and and things like that. And that always was helpful. So it's not like you have somebody hovering you and telling, you know what I mean?
That tightens you up right there.
Yeah, and then you end up making maybe decisions you normally wouldn't.
Sure.
So.
And all of that, I think contributes to you just developing your own you. You know what I mean? And the better you get, the better y'all get.
Yep.
Brief intermission. We got to talk about what's current. Okay. Coronavirus. This is something new to the universe.
Yes.
All right. I gotta be honest. I think the world basically shut down the week of the state tournament. I remember that, and I thought it was kind of trendy. I'll be honest. I wasn't a firm believer in it. I thought that we may have overreacted early on. How has it affected you, directly or indirectly? And do you think we overreacted in the beginning? Did you?
Yes, because I was more upset because I had a wedding planned and everything for April 4th. So in my head, I thought this is not that big of a deal. Let's just keep going. I don't want to reschedule things. Because life is so busy, and when it slows down or people try to take things away from you, as Americans we're like no, things like that. But
we always think we can just bounce right back to it, but something else will be brewing later down the line.
Yes. So I think it affected me. Probably more in a negative way because I did not want to slow down and I did not want to change what I wanted. right? So
very understandable.
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know. I feel like maybe it'd been here a while, and I just it's hard to say.
It really is.
It really is.
Have you guys taken any outlandish precautions as far as the way y'all live, or is it pretty much business as usual? Maybe.
No, we do. We don't go out as much. We do wear masks when we go to the grocery store. My mom made those for me.
Hey.
Because I'm diabetic, I have to be more cautious because it's autoimmune disease.
That makes sense.
I just have to be more careful than the normal person.
How the kids hanging in there? What has it been different for them? Because I know I'm not an expert, but I know enough to know that kids thrive in routine, and that was disrupted. And I know they can become disruptive.
Yes, and when you're an active family and you're busy every weekend playing sports, I have 3 kids. All 3 of them are in sports actively. It's hard to. What do we do with our time? So I'm a huge parent about education, over the top probably.
Yeah.
My kids are not allowed to have a B, and if they do, there's punishments for that. But I decided starting Monday, which has been a pain, but they have a routine. I laid it all out. They wake up at 9. They do this. They do this. They do this, and it's all the way up until about 6 o'clock. And so if they don't, obviously there's consequences. But my biggest deal for them is that mentally, for athletic kids, I feel like if they're not in a structure, they might lose themselves. And so again, it goes back to my mental health thing. They gotta stay, because I feel like the outside world is so scary right now.
Yeah, very.
We don't try to watch the news. I don't want them to hear anything.
No.
Just stay with what we know. And right now, I feel like there's going to be a huge division between the kids that actually took things seriously and worked on their craft and did what they did, and the kids that sat on their butt. When we get back out of this, you will definitely see a division. I guarantee you.
Oh my goodness. And there's been a lot more teacher appreciation during this time too.
Yeah.
I've been seeing that all over the social media. They see now the little Johnny, we weren't just picking on him. Yep. He's a little turd. You know what I mean? But we love him though.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, now getting back to the hardwood. So after your first year as a 19-year-old, how long were you on the staff working with your dad? Okay,
so I knew that I needed to graduate from college. That if whatever I wanted to do, and this is what I wanted to do, that was my main focus. And so being a woman and my life, and when I tell people my life story, which I use a lot with my players.
Yeah.
We all make choices. We all make decisions. We have to live by those.
True.
And there's good and bad consequences for every decision we make. And I had a child not far after after that. Okay.
Gotcha.
So
Real
my
life.
oldest, Keegan, yeah, real life. So then, I'm a single mom now of a kid, and I forced myself to go back to school, and I did not stop. And then here we go. And then I have another child. So I was a single mom with 2 kids. I'll never forget this, living in an apartment. I waited tables during the day and went to school at night, and then vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
And I only took 2 semesters off, and I literally just dove into it because I knew that I wanted my kids to have a future and myself to have a future. And the only way to do that is with education.
Sure.
And regardless of what society tells me that I shouldn't have been doing, or what the mistakes that, and being a woman, it's hard because, you have all these stereotypes against you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told myself that I want to be something more than that. And so that's when, so those things happened. And so I graduated in 2006. And I took a break from coaching, obviously, because I couldn't do all of that.
Yeah, that sounds like more than a full plate if you had kept going.
Mm-hmm. And so then so all of that, I graduated. I went back and helped my dad a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the U.S. Grant girls basketball coach came open.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The worst.
Man, listen.
The bottom of the totem pole.
That's right. They were down.
You got to get in there. And the only way to get head coaching experiences, you got to sometimes take jobs that are more difficult.
True that.
To work your way up the chain.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did when you just took a dive into it, did you take that same approach to taking the grant job as you did to going back to school? Like, screw it, I'm going in.
Yes, and I did. I went in and I did the interview really well, I thought, and I knew the principal, which was nice because he used to be my principal at Santa Fe. Because, it's really about who you know nowadays,
Yeah.
So I went in and then I was like, oh my goodness, I am 26 years old. I'm a head girls basketball coach at a 6A school. 2 babies, what am I doing,
Right.
But
I love that, though, because none of that is uniform. You know what I mean? And it's not the textbook way that people would tell you you're supposed to do it.
Nope.
But look at you, going against the grain, getting it done.
I know.
But anyway, I digress.
No, it's okay. So that was probably made me the best fundamental coach I could be because that's all we could work on there. And it was really probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
So, it's a very high Hispanic population.
Yep.
And not very many Hispanic girls liked to play basketball.
Right.
And so, there's soccer and there's cross country and there's all, but basketball wasn't really popular.
Right.
And I remember one of my players coming up to me and like, Coach, if you want these girls to play, you're going to have to go down in the Hispanic League downtown and get them. And I'm like, what do you mean? She was like, I'm a white woman, they're like, who are you going to tell us what we're going to do? And I was like, okay. So I literally went downtown. I'll never forget. It's like this big metal building, and it's a women's basketball league for Hispanic women. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. And I went in there.
I didn't even know about that till just now.
Yep.
Okay.
So I went in there and I said, I'm going to play. So I played, and some of them knew English, some of them didn't. And I took my kids, I put my kids in the bleachers and just said, play. I just did whatever I could. And then they earned that respect with me. And then I was like, okay, can your kid come out for basketball now? Or will you trust me for her to play? And that's how I got kids to come out.
You got a few of them?
Yep.
That's good right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's a funny story, but it's great.
But that's an unconventional way of going and getting them, though. But thank goodness to who tipped you off and said, hey, go down there and go get that done.
Alejandra, I don't know if she remembers, but her mama was in charge of a team, and so I went down there, and I needed her mom to trust me too because she wanted Alejandra to have a job, and because they needed it, they needed to make a living. And I said, okay, is there anything I can do to work around it, let her leave practice early, just for her to be able to play and have a job. Like, I was willing to do whatever I could to get these kids to be more structured and have discipline, besides just home and work. I wanted them to be more involved in other things. So.
Got you. I like your vision on that.
Thanks.
How long were you at Grant?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, so after that second year, is that when you ended up in Midwest City?
Okay, no.
No?
Funny story.
Take me through
I
it.
went back to be with my dad to be his assistant.
Okay.
So
third stint.
Yep, I know.
I like it.
Okay, so after the very first year at U.S. Grant, when I first got the job, they hadn't won a game in 2 years.
Wow.
Okay, so then we won six. So that was like huge, right? And then the next year, I lost some seniors that were pretty good, and then I think we won 4 or 5. I can't even remember now. And then I just told myself it was a lot of strain working there. You know, these kids need me on a whole nother level. And then now I have kids of my own. I'm a single mom. So it just took a lot out of me. And I really wanted to get back into the higher part of 6A, even if I, need to be an assistant.
That's right.
So I was my dad's assistant for 3 years. We went to the state semis twice, and we had a great run together. It was really fun. I was still the freshman and his assistant at the same time.
There you go.
So I did both. So I coached 4 nights a week, and it was really great. And then after those 3 years with my dad is when I applied for the Midwest City job.
There you go.
So
coaching with your dad, though, what was the experience different from each stint? You know what I mean? Or
yes, I think it's because I got more mature, and then now I already had my head, coaching experience. Now I came in, and I was really everything for my dad. I just wanted my dad to just focus on coaching. So I did all the other stuff for him. The little things that that people don't really notice. Like grade checking and inventory, and connecting with the parents and making sure they know, and just everything I possibly could to make his life easier. But at the same time, I still had a voice. I would help him, run defenses and offenses and things like that. And so the third time through, I felt like we grew stronger together, and now we're bouncing off of each other rather than me trying to just learn. Now, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. You got a little something to offer now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting going from a head back to an assistant, which I happen to walk that same path a little bit. You know what they need from you and what they want from you based on what you needed when you were in the driver's seat. Okay, so then you spread your wings, and now you're at one of the most competitive programs in the state. How was that? How'd you feel at that point? Were you like, all right, now, Grant, I felt good, but now I'm here when you got that Midwest City job?
Going into that Midwest City job, there was a lot of, issues with, the coach before me. So it wasn't that, he was he did a great job there, our Bodie. He did, and so you're coming in now with 7 seniors, right?
Oh, man, yeah.
Okay, all right, 7 of them that,
dicey.
And they still connected with, him, and still had a relationship with him. So I didn't want to come in and just be like, you better listen to me and do what I say and things like that. So trying to bring in who I was into and structure the way I want it done was a lot harder.
They resisted?
Oh yeah. They resisted. But it was a good run that first year.
What year was that?
2015, 2016.
2015, 2016. That was your first season.
First season, and I won state.
Okay, now see, in 2016, right? Okay. State semifinals. I'm coaching at Muskogee, and we play against you guys in the semis. You know what I mean? Go to double OT.
Overtime.
You know what I mean?
I did not know this.
And they beat us. And now, hell of a game. And for some reason, I'm able to, even as a coach, I'm sitting over there on the bench, and I'm supposed to be dialed in, and I am, but I was able to step back and be like, yo, as a fan, this is a hell of a game.
I almost felt like that was the state championship.
I think it was. And
it felt like just because it was such an intense.
It was.
Good game.
Good game. And, and people, fans, you love them. You know where they're coming from, but they'll come up to you and say something goofy like, man, y'all should have won that game. I'm like, can you really say that? Should have?
Because it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way. And then God bless Owasso, because they had been knocking on the door, but they were a year or two behind the curve.
They were all sophomores.
They were. And so I knew whoever won that semis matchup was going to go ahead and get that brass ring. You all went and got it. So that's where I remember you from.
And you guys, Muskogee beat my dad. Didn't you?
Yes, we beat him in 20. Well, you talking about that year?
You beat him the night before.
In the quarters, you're right.
You did. So you beat because I would have had to play my dad.
There you go.
So that was craziness.
Did you ever get that matchup though during your time at Midwest City?
Well, the first year, no, and that's the year I wanted it.
Oh yeah.
Because then the next year was all rebuilding. You graduate 5 starters, 7 seniors. That's a big chunk. So then that next year, yes, and he beat me.
He beat you. How was that conversation afterwards, man? Was it bragging going on, or was it just love?
It's not. We don't talk for several days. So that's just one of those. I think he's real competitive. So am I.
Yeah.
And so, we don't. We'll talk a little bit before the game, and then we won't talk for a couple days later, and then we usually don't talk about the game at all.
I hear that.
So that's kind of it's just, I don't know.
But if it works for y'all, it works.
Yeah.
How tough are you to deal with, generally speaking, after a loss? Or maybe I should ask Brian over there.
Yeah, you should ask Brian after a loss. I am.
Are you hard on yourself?
Yeah. Yes. I bring it home. I don't know. I have a tendency to blame it all on myself, I think. And I don't. There's some coaches that will blame it all on the players or blame it on circumstances or the refs or whatever. And I always take it upon myself that I should have done this, or maybe I didn't do this week that I should have, or maybe I should have prepared them better, or, I'm always thinking, what do I need to do to make it better for next time? I take it harder, and you can ask my players. I am not good at losing.
Accountability, though. I
Yeah.
love it. Okay, so let's say if it's a Tuesday night, right? And
Okay.
you all have a tough loss.
Okay.
And then you come back in there on Wednesday. How much time are you spending, dedicating to y'all losing last night before you just shift the focus to Friday? Because you got a game coming.
Good question. Yeah, that's a good question. And I feel like as a coach, that's a huge thing to determine, I guess, the type of culture you want in your program.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's important to realize and figure out why you lost, right? But not holding on to it. You
Sure.
got to have quit. In basketball, there's always another game.
Always.
But you also don't want to then not think that game wasn't important and you didn't learn from it.
Mhm.
So I like that we play Tuesday and then you have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, because then Wednesday you can focus on what you didn't do very well and then also start touching base on the Friday night game. I feel like that Wednesday is very crucial in your program, depending on if you did lose on a Tuesday night.
Do your players know what time it is just based
yeah.
on whenever you hit the door?
My demeanor. They always,
snap.
yep.
Coach tripping, man.
Yes.
She ain't got the balls out.
For some reason, they think if I wear a baseball hat, when I wear my hat,
Yeah.
that means I'm serious. My
Wow.
assistants, like Toya Jack, she always, oh, Coach got a hat on today. You guys better watch out. I don't know. I think that's just
So you haven't noticed a pattern in yourself on that, huh?
I guess no. I guess not. But I always laugh and say there isn't. But now I guess I wore a hat 2 months ago after a loss or something, and I was like, wait, maybe that is right, because I got a little crazy.
Sometimes we got to get ourselves in the character, let them know what time it really
Yes.
is. Now, when it comes to film, which one do you prefer? When you're preparing for an opponent, so you're watching that team that you're getting ready to play, playing against somebody else, and you're breaking things down, or when you're watching film on y'all's performance and you're critiquing and taking things and trying to build on it. Which one of those would you prefer? Do you like more?
I think I like more preparing my players
Yeah.
for their opponent.
There you
So
go.
that is something I feel like I bring a lot to my teams.
Mhm.
And I feel like a lot of coaches will do their own scouting report, hand it out to each player, and say, here you go. And I do the opposite. My players make their own scouting report.
I
So
love that.
what we do, which is very fortunate at Mustang, it's amazing film room. Okay,
Yeah.
I've never had one, but anyway,
Plush,
they have
huh?
their own chairs. I mean, it's so great. But they have a folder.
Mhm.
It's in their locker and it stays in there all year long, right? And so some teams that we played twice, it's great because they just pull out scouting report from last time and they add to it and we go back to that game. But they have it, and then next year they'll pull out that and then we'll look at it too. Now, if they have the same coach, obviously it's probably going to be similar,
Uh-huh.
right? If it's a new coach, we're going to start over. But the tendencies of the players usually are the same,
Sure.
unless they've gotten better. But they have learned to now create their own scouting report. We talk about it. I say, write this down. What did you see here? Okay, Jackie, you're going to guard her. What do you see about her? Write those tendencies down. This girl takes charges. They write their own. And when a high school kid has ownership in their own scouting report, they don't think about throwing it in the trash on the way out or not looking at it because they put their own work into it. So
Golly.
my whole deal is that I want them to, when they get in college, that part, it comes easy.
Mhm.
I don't want them to be the freshmen sitting there going, what are you guys all writing down?
Yeah,
And
all
what
this
if-
is over
you know what I
your
mean?
head.
Or like, I've never done that. I
Mhm.
want to prepare them the best I can because to me, that's bigger than winning. I know people always say that winning should be the number one, but to me, it's what they're doing in their next chapter in life that if I really did what I was supposed to do
That's
or
right.
I really won in their life.
That's winning in the long term, though.
Yes.
So, I mean, you're just taking a different destination, playing the long game.
Yep.
And that's big time. So it carries over from year after year. That folder
Yes.
doesn't go anywhere.
No,
I
and
like
so
that.
that's something that because this was my first year at Mustang, so
Sure.
something that they're going to get used to. Which towards the end of the year is just natural. I mean, notebooks came in, and it was great.
How was this first season for you at
It was-
Mustang?
It was an up and down season. I
Mhm.
think my team. Well, I've never had a team that was just so young, but so much talented.
Mhm. Now, when you say young, you talking about in terms of classification or,
Yes,
or
I started-
experience?
Um, both actually.
Got you.
Because they graduated, well, their main point guard didn't come back, their best defender and their best rebounder and scorer. So that's a lot,
Yeah, it's a
right?
whole
And
lot.
so I had a senior class that didn't get a lot of experience, okay? And then two freshmen are now sophomores.
Mhm.
So out of that whole team before, really only two had a lot of experience. So not only am I young, now I'm really unexperienced. So I ended up starting 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen, and a senior.
Oh, wow.
You know, and
feet in the fire, baby. Go for it.
Yes, because that is, I mean, and I had the talent. There was a lot of young talent on this team. Lots of sophomores and freshmen. And that's great for the future.
For sure.
But I hadn't had such a team that, you know, was just so young in the experience also. And so I grew probably more in this year than I ever have.
You talked about the plight of those veteran girls when you first got the Midwest City job. Was it similar or different in terms of buy-in this time around, seeing as you had young ones?
Well, it was the buy-in at Midwest City was very different than the buy-in at Mustang.
Sure.
The transition to Mustang was a lot easier for me.
Okay.
I don't know if it was just the experience or, you know, I've been there before. They knew and heard of me, you know. When Midwest City, I came from Edmond, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And
that brings on some challenges of its own.
And I hadn't been a head coach but at U.S. Grant. So,
sure.
You know, they're going to try to figure out if I really know what I'm talking about. So the transition took a while, but once they realized that I actually cared about them more as a person and that I really am walking and talking the talk, that they bought in at the perfect time. It was game against Sapulpa. It was win, we go to state, lose, we go home.
Right.
And they'd only lost, I think, 2 games the whole season. Sapulpa was really the team to win it that year. Chelsea Dungy, you know.
Oh yeah, I remember that group.
So
we had to go and touch them up.
Yeah,
Coach,
you did.
So got a little shameless plug.
That's
but they were tough though.
Yes, they were, and they were good. And we end up. I mean, I remember looking Jennifer Douglas at my assistant at the time. I remember looking at her and being like, "We're up by 25 against Sapulpa." Like it was like a click. Like we're here to play. And from then on, it was great.
That turning point whenever you just know, okay, this is what we can be.
Yes.
And then they just
and
take
this is
off.
what we've worked for, and now they believe it and see it, and it was beautiful.
Best player versus leader. Let me break that down.
Okay.
I think the average mind might think whoever your best player is, like your top player, the one who's leading and scoring, we tend to want that player to be everything. The vocalist, the rah-rah guy or girl, and the one who leads by example. But in reality, those things don't always add up or don't always align with their personalities. So what does it have to be for you? Does your best player have to be that rah-rah guy?
No.
No?
Sometimes for example, this year, I have a senior that touched the court maybe 2 minutes all year. Senior, great kid, set the bench, loudest, most vocal kid ever. But she would be an example of a great leader, in my opinion. I don't necessarily need my best player to be my leader. I do want them to learn how to lead by 1 or 2. You either are going to lead by example every day, or you are going to lead with your mouth, or both. Right? But that just comes with the territory, in my opinion.
Sure.
And for your other teammates to respect you and have that, you know, vibe as a team, you know, if you're the best player and you're able to show up late every day or talk back or do whatever you want, then you'll lose everybody else.
That's right.
So even though it might not be in your personality to be a leader with your mouth, then you're going to have to do everything by example. If not, then my role as your coach and mentor is to teach you that over the years I'm with you. Learn how to step up and be uncomfortable. Learn how to tell people what to do in a respectful manner that isn't, you know, demeaning or, you know, demanding, because everybody gets in their feelings nowadays.
Yeah, you do.
you gotta teach them how to do that, and then eventually maybe they could be both.
And, you know, none of them want to be just by somebody that's their own age.
Yes.
But when you're the best or one of the best, you have credibility. So folks are naturally going to look at you anyway like, hey, what do we do here, big dog?
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
And I think that is good to have, too. Like, you always need that person to put everybody in place a little bit. But there's a fine line of how to do that. And that's hard with teenagers nowadays, you know, because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You know, back in our day, we didn't
really
care.
Nah.
I'm going to tell you what I feel, and I don't. And nowadays, you just have to be a little bit more, I guess, sensitive to other people's
and
feelings.
selective. All these S's.
Yes.
Have you ever had a kid who was chirping but didn't have that credibility, and it was like, kid.
Okay, so that's a great time to do during practice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you put them against somebody else, and you prove a point.
Yeah, get them
rolled
up.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, now play defense against her and tell me. All right. You know what I mean? Like I feel like as a coach too, it's okay to put people in their, especially teenagers, in a place. I feel like some people are either over the top crazy or too sensitive and don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So, you know, you have to tell kids, really nowadays, you got to tell them like sometimes they want the truth. So just tell them, you know, and then you don't have to embarrass them.
No.
You know, but be honest. And if you're honest and everything's out there on the table, then they know their expectations.
And I think kids are pretty good. I got to give them credit here. I think they're pretty good about sensing when you're BSing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when you're being disingenuous.
They're smarter.
If you plastic, they can see right through
it.
Hey, you little rascals. Well, let me ask you this here, though. Let's say, yeah, that's really what I say instead of cussing.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, now, I'm still working. He ain't through with me yet. What does a preseason look like for Coach Bass and the Lady Mustang?
So if you go back to my Midwest City girls, they will laugh because they think preseason is the death.
That's right.
So they always talk about, we don't miss preseason with you. I'm like, okay, you know, but I feel like preseason should be a reflection of what season's actually going to look like. And we have majority of our coaches come in during preseason practices. So to me, that is huge on what I want them to see. And my feedback from them. What did you think? What do you see? You know, I always laugh, man, coach, you're ready. You're already, I mean, yeah, and it is, because in preseason you only get like an hour.
That's right.
And so literally every second and minute counts. You can't have a lot of go get a drink for 5 seconds or 5 minutes. You know,
better hydrate throughout the day, kiddo.
Yes. So what's great is, you know, I'm a huge coach in lifting weights. Okay, so especially for girls, and I feel like you should do it through the entire season. Some coaches in 6A, which a lot of them do, they will lift in preseason and they will lift in off season, but they will not lift in season.
That never made any sense.
And it doesn't make sense to me either.
You undo all of that.
Yes, if you look at like football, for example, they lift weights throughout the season, and I feel like it's the number one factor, in my opinion, for injury prevention. You know, I mean, I'm not saying getting out in there, you know, benching your max during season, but staying consistent and still continuing in that. So we lift. I try to break down our offenses more. And I am a huge defensive person. So, you know, from stance to how you stand to how you communicate. And preseason is huge for your freshmen.
Oh, yeah.
So that is their time to be like, oh, this is what this is. I better get on board. And so then when season starts, October 1, you don't have to reteach anything because you've already done it during, you know, just any drill that I'm going to know that I'm going to use a lot. We do it. We teach. I do a lot of post and guard work.
Absolutely. That's my favorite right there.
Best. I know. My players, it's their favorite too.
Yeah.
And I try to hire people that are really good at skill work. And so that way I'm utilizing my assistants to the best of their ability and they're making me better. Right. And so I feel like when you hire assistants, you need to hire assistants that, like, I'm not very good in this area as a head coach, so I'm going to hire somebody really good at that. So then at the end, our entire package just fits together like a puzzle, and it's just, you know, it's how you want it.
That's being honest with yourself too, because, you know, it's not easy to admit when you may not be the strongest in a certain area.
And go ahead.
And that makes sense. No. What I was going to ask next is, did you ever have trouble delegating responsibilities as a head coach?
No.
Never.
So I feel like this is my strong point. Okay.
All right.
And if you ask my assistants, which I self-reflect on myself a lot with my assistants. So at the end of the season, I give them a reflection paper and I want them to reflect on me as a head coach, on them as, you know, what did we do good this year? What did we not? And that's huge when you're a leader, because if you want them to feel like they have a voice and they're going to respect you and work harder for you.
That's right.
If they have a voice, they will work harder, right? And they will do the little things before you even ask because they want to, you know? And so I feel like that speaks volumes, because when I left Midwest City, my assistants didn't want to go anywhere but with me, right? So I took 2 of them with me to Mustang, right? And the third one, she just did a career change, you know? But and I feel like as a head coach too, like there's just so much in high school that I think people don't realize that we have to do, from community service to, you know, before even touching the court, you know? And so it's very important to hire people that are good in these areas, delegate duties. So I have a list. I literally do. I'm OCD. They'll tell you that. You know,
but you organize,
this is Coach Toya, right? And this is Coach Toya's duties. This is Coach Jones. This is her duties. And so now, not only does everybody know their duties and each other's duties, they don't step on somebody else's toes, right?
Right.
So why are you doing that? That's what I do, you know? And so then and especially when I love all women staffs. So when I hire all women, you know, it's just better for us to work together if we know what to expect and we know what our job is. And that way, and then we come back together and figure out, okay, well, maybe, you know, you as an assistant didn't like that role. Maybe I can pick up that, and then you can do this because you're better at this, for example.
Okay.
And so then, you know, and every year I feel like we grow because of it. You know, I always try to do a book study with you know, I feel like growing your assistants is super important, not just for your future, but for their future.
Yeah.
You know?
And it also helps to know that you're not giving me any assignments that you wouldn't take on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You
You're
know,
not giving
and
me horse crap
yes,
patrol.
Yeah, but then I also don't want to run a practice where I'm practicing and my assistants are standing on the sideline,
chilling,
or sitting, or you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I feel like that's a waste of time and money, because I have 30, 40 all girl, some all girls in my program,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to make sure that every girl grows. I don't care if you're on varsity, freshman, or JV. Every single one of you matter. And every single one of you are going to work hard every day. You're not going to stand and watch varsity do stuff, right? I am so tired of that. I have 4 coaches.
Yeah.
No, you go get those girls over there and work on this,
Mhm.
while I'm over here working on this. So anytime you come into my practice, preseason, whatever, there's not standing. It's like my
that.
biggest. I cannot stand standing.
Everybody's productive.
Yes.
Or else they'll be disruptive in a minute.
Exactly.
Chirping.
Yes, and they know that they don't want to do that, because if I look over and they're talking, we're running.
I had to turn it up. Troubleshooting. Okay, a lot of people think, hey, as assistants, we don't really have to deal with some of the shenanigans, or when it comes to putting out fires. How do you know as a head coach when a situation is sensitive enough to where it's like, hey, I got to tell my assistants to take a step back. I need to assert myself in this one right here. Have you ever been in one of those situations?
Good question. I think yes and no. I think sometimes I have an open door policy. Anybody can come in, anybody can talk, anybody can communicate. Anytime we have a fight, I think my assistants know I'm in charge of all of those things.
Sure.
But they also have a voice. So
Yeah.
anytime I have any type of meeting, parent, which I don't really have a lot of parent meetings, but anytime
Lucky
I have
you.
a meeting.
Lucky you.
Well,
knock on something.
well, I think that's just, I really have great relationships with them. Or I
Beautiful
try
thing.
to be. And
Nice.
I feel like that needs to be open too.
Right.
If parents don't feel involved, then, it's the whole dynamic that you have to make sure everybody feels like they have a voice. But
For sure.
anyway, I always bring an assistant in.
Mm-hmm.
And I always talk. Like if it's a player, for example, let's say they had an issue with another player. They talk, I talk, my assistant talks, we all talk. We all have a voice. At the end of the day, my voice obviously is the main one,
That's
but
right.
I don't want them to think I'm the only one that matters either.
Sure.
But I hire people where our respect level is on the same, so I really haven't had any issues with that, I don't think.
Well, good. I like the way you think.
Okay.
In the same space,
Okay.
how do you handle accountability from one of your better players? And I know you may have to tap back into your Midwest City days, because I know you can't treat every player the same, because everybody's different personality-wise. Have you ever had to take a different approach to
Yes.
this kid
Oh.
versus taking one to this
And that's
kid?
the hardest thing, I think, as a head coach to navigate.
Mhm.
Because I feel like I have a heart for kids, and I
Yeah.
understand that every kid's situation is different,
Mhm.
right? So if I have a kid that, for example, hears it at home 24/7, right?
Right.
You're not good enough, you need to work harder, or whatever. So if I bring that too, and I'm like that to them, right? Then it's just double duty, and then you get a kid that's just not into it as much as they want, right?
Right.
So then you have to play that, oh, I don't know, you're doing fine, hoorah type of person,
Mhm.
right?
You
But then
turn
have
into a
kid-
cheerleader.
Yes, right. But then if your your players see that, then they think, well, maybe that person's getting special treatment,
Mhm.
right? Well, then you have a kid over here who maybe is spoiled rotten, has
Oh,
got
yeah.
everything they want, right? So I'm the bad guy on them.
For sure.
They're like, you're always on her, but you're never on her, and it's always that, So I do a lot of like team. Hey, this is what we're doing. Remember, we're all human. We all are brought up differently. We need to learn to accept each other for our differences, right? But then understand each other because of our differences. I
That's
think
right.
that's the biggest deal. Is just because I see life this way doesn't mean they do. But at the end of the day, we still need to respect each other.
Yeah, and it
So
doesn't mean one person's right and the other one's wrong.
Yes, right. And so because I harp on you all the time, right? And you're just like, you always harp on me and nobody else. Really?
That's
I
what
would
you
say
think?
it's like when you call a dog, right? If you call a dog's name, it's going to come. If I call it something else, it's not going to come. Well, it's because it only hears its name. So if I only am yelling at you, did you ever hear me yell at this girl over here? No. Because all you hear is me yelling at you,
Great
right?
point.
And the same thing happens to parents,
Mhm.
right? So parents always think I'm always yelling at you. Really? Did you hear me just yell at so-and-so? You know what I mean? And so I feel like, it's a balance of just being open communication-wise with people. Yeah, I am harder on you. And?
Yeah.
Because I demand you to be better. So if you don't like that, if you don't want that, there's another school down the street.
There you go.
And that's why, so many kids transfer nowadays anyway. So
Yeah.
if this isn't fit for you or you don't like it, then either find something else or adjust or learn how to fit in it,
I like that you went right there, because I think a lot of coaches are afraid of putting a kid in a fight or flight situation. I don't think that's the worst thing, because what usually happens is what you just said. Either they'll say, okay, this ain't for me, or they'll be like, okay, coach, she's not gonna change, so let me conform. Problem solved. Either way, it's really not that difficult.
And I feel like too, if we're not doing that in our sports, then we're not setting them up or helping them in life.
Mm-hmm.
Because in life, I can work my butt off and do everything perfect and think that I'm, I deserve this.
Right.
And at the end of the day, I don't get what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
What do? Give up and quit, or get mad or blame somebody else? No, that's not how life works, right?
Counterproductive.
Yes. So through sports, we are teaching them about life. And I feel like we have to hold them accountable, even if, like, sometimes those accountabilities are private.
Yeah, sure.
And you didn't show the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
So now the whole team is like, well, she didn't get put. I don't have to tell y'all
right.
what I did to her, right? And I feel like that is something I've learned a lot this year too. We had some issues with that, and I had to balance that. And sometimes as head coach, I did it wrong. Maybe I should have done something different. But
right.
it prepares you as a coach too for the next time this happens. This is definitely what I'll do.
Right. And hindsight can be it can be a cruel enemy to us. You look back like, God, I don't think I got that one right.
Yep.
And a lot of times the payoff is like, okay, it's not really telling me whether this was right or wrong. A couple months later down the line, okay, it was right.
Yep.
I mean, it's like I'm not a waiter either, so that gets on my nerves. I'm sort of impatient. I got about 3 more things I want to throw at you, Coach.
Okay.
Now, the first of those 3, what's the summer look like for you guys? And the reason I ask that is because I'm seeing things. Maybe I'm bugging. You help me out, but are teams going away from summer leagues as much? Okay. And it seems like it's more team camp action going on.
Well, I feel like also, to be honest, it's more. The month of June just keeps getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah, that's right.
Because of I feel like because so many of my players play AAU,
Mm-hmm.
or, higher advanced basketball, obviously.
Uh-huh.
But because of that, and it's great. I love it. I don't want to burn them out, right? So I always say the month of June is not going to tell me what I'm doing in March, right?
True that.
So I learned through watching other coaches and just in my own perspective on things, I don't want to kill them in June,
mm-hmm.
because in July they play so many games, and I don't want to break down their bodies, and I want them to be able to perform in front of college coaches, right? So I don't want them to get hurt with me and then not be able to have a summer, playing for their future. So for me, I think it shifted a little bit. 6 years ago, it was, we're going to wake up, we're going to do summer pride.
Straight up.
We got summer pride, we got camp, we got summer league. You play so many games. And
mm-hmm.
now, to me, I feel like less is better.
Yep.
And so I run my own summer league at Mustang. This is my first time ever doing it, and I really enjoyed it. We play 2 games a night. You're good to go, right? And I do 1 team camp. That's it. That's all I do. I don't think that lifting weights hardcore and paying somebody to come in, right,
mm-hmm.
and do all this stuff.
All the stuff you're getting ready to do in August and September anyway?
Yeah, but they don't do it in July because they're playing. So you did all of that and, lifting and working on that, and then it goes away because, and when you're lifting weights and you don't do it for 3 weeks, you lose it all.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me waking up and doing all of that. It just doesn't seem feasible to me.
Did you learn that through trial and error, or?
I think so. And I think just the times have changed,
That's right.
And, it with all of this going everywhere and getting seen, mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
that's a big deal now. And so I don't want my players to miss out on those things. And so to me, I really don't think that it's important. Don't get me wrong.
Yep.
June is very important for school ball, especially with your incoming freshmen,
mm-hmm.
knowing what works with this new group,
sure.
right? Because you got people that graduate, you got people coming up. So you're trying to figure out, because every year, things change. So you have to change. This offense worked last year, but it might not work this year.
That's right, depending on your personnel.
So that's what I feel like June works for,
right.
is more for us coaches to figure out what we need to work on in August.
For
right?
sure.
So to me, it's not necessarily for the players. I feel like it's more for us as coaches. June. That, in my opinion.
That's a good way to shift the focus. So now, then you put that in my brain. So now when I think of June, I'm like, for the coaches, let's get it right. And you have children, right?
I do
3
have
of them,
children.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of your social media followers, so I see from a distance they're very active.
Yes.
How are you able to balance coaching and parenting? Can you be just mom, or is it tough for you to not and turn into coach when you're watching them?
I think the hardest thing for them,
yeah,
is to balance that.
Oh, really?
Because they, like, when they play,
mm-hmm.
they want me to be acceptive, but they need I don't. This has been the hardest thing for me as they've grown up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this year coming up, my middle daughter will be a freshman. So I've never really coached her, okay? So I've coached her a couple years when she was like 6th grade, 5th grade, I think. And so, and that was But I'm nervous for next year because I want her to be able to. I'm the coach. I'm not mom, right? And that's going to be a hard balance for both of us.
Will you let her call you mom, or she just it's got to be coach when you're in the gym?
That is a good question. Nobody's asked me that. Nobody has asked me that.
Yeah.
What will she call me? To be honest, I want her to call me whatever she wants to call me. To be
there you go.
Whatever she's comfortable with. But
I hear you.
My son, he's really competitive in 2 sports, football and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
He was a freshman this year, and he did great things. But I have learned, and I've gotten better at this, that I used to always be the loud person in the stands, talking and blah, blah, blah. But this year, I decided to be quiet as much as I could. And then towards the end, I completely stopped.
Okay.
Because I think that it started to cause some issues, and I didn't want that. And I just, for the first time, I just want to be mom and enjoy you. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for you if you need me. And if if you don't, you don't, right? Like if you don't want to figure out what you did wrong, I'm still going to be your mom. And that's the coach's job. Right, I'm only here for if you like extra credit. That's what I would say, or bonus if you need help. But I want you to enjoy playing. I don't want this pressure of mom's in the stands and I'm not doing anything right. My coaches are yelling at me. I don't know. I just it's been an interesting thing this year.
Working at it. Now, I know I said 3 more, make it 4, because I got to ask this one right here.
You can ask me. We can keep going.
When I first saw you, obviously, whenever we hooked up, our teams played in 2016, yes. You still had the weight on you. But I've seen you slimmed down, you got yourself in shape. How was that plight for you? Like, what adjustments did you make as far as your diet goes and your physical output to get yourself to where you are?
Him? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, salute to him.
Brian is really into fit and health. But I also, as a woman,
right.
and balancing your health and how you feel about yourself is a big deal. And, self-esteem and all of that. I feel like when you're coaching girls,
right.
People don't realize how much of that ties into just playing, right?
Sure.
How they feel about themselves in general. And I felt like I needed to really focus on my health. The problem is during season, I don't do that as well.
It's hard, isn't it?
It is hard. And
time is scarce.
Yes. And so 2 years ago when I told you at the beginning, at the interview, that
mm-hmm.
I got diagnosed,
right.
I ignored all the symptoms because I didn't have time. I had practice. I had whatever, right?
Did that scare you at all?
It scared him because, and he's the reason I went to the doctor, right? And then it made me shift even more in the last year, because if I want to continue to do this and I want to be a good mom, I have to care about my health. And I feel like moms in general, we don't do that very well. We put ourselves last, right?
Right.
But if we want to be the best we can for all the people we love, we have to learn how to put ourselves first, right?
For sure.
And, God is a huge thing for me,
That's right.
Having my time with him, having my time, with myself. And now I feel like the only thing that's been good for me during this quarantine thing is that now I'm forced to really focus on myself.
Yeah.
And now I'm working out twice a day to try to keep my mind busy, and I feel like this will start something probably that will continue now, because, I always say exercise is like brushing your teeth, right? You want to brush your teeth every day, right? You don't not brush your teeth.
No,
so you have to look at exercess that way as well. Mm-hmm. This is something I have to do because I want to make my body last longer.
That's right.
So I feel like, that I have to feel good about who I am. And I don't feel like the number on the scale really determines that.
I hear
it should
that.
be, how you feel on the inside. So,
mm-hmm. When you feel better, you look better.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
now, as far as, let's say, decompression, right? How do you decompress? What's a hobby or something that you do outside of basketball that has nothing to do with basketball? When you finally turn your brain off for a second, or does that even exist?
I don't think that exists. I think that's been the hardest thing during this time too, during this quarantine, is to find something. Who am I besides basketball?
Yeah.
Right? What do
Forcing us.
Yeah. What do I do if there's no sports? Right? So I read, I dig into the Bible. I do these other things, and I am a huge family. I love my family. Yeah. I love spending time with my family. I don't really go out and do things, I really just spend majority of my time with him and my kids. And that is what makes me the happiest at the end of the day, is being with them. So
simple and plain.
Yep.
Here's how we close all of my interviews.
Okay.
If you can think back, either whether it was in your playing days or in your coaching days, a team that beat you that you knew was not supposed to beat you. All right, they just got the best of you on that day for whatever reason. And if you could go back and run it back, you'd go back to that one. Which one is that? Who beat you that wasn't supposed to beat you?
Who beat me who wasn't supposed to beat me? I don't want to say it.
That's why we call it all due disrespect. That's the name of the segment. You got to come right at them. You know what I mean?
Okay, this year I played my father.
Okay.
And I really do feel like I should have won that game.
Should have beat him.
Should have beat him. And I don't want to say my dad because it's my dad, but I felt like we prepared really well for that game.
Mm-hmm.
And the ball, sometimes at the end of the day, just doesn't go in.
And
it's frustrating when every game before that, it your percentage stays at this number. And then weird game, it went down, and it's like, what? The ball, I mean, because at the end of the day, that's how you win a game.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not going in, it makes it really difficult.
It's really difficult.
And, I'd probably say that game. You think that game? I do too.
Was it competitive?
Yes, and it was hard, and I didn't think I talked to him for a week after.
Oh, so he went past just a couple of days?
And it had nothing to do with him. It was more just the frustration of that game. And I'm back in my alumni. I mean, this is the gym that I used to play in. My name's up on the board because I still have a record.
You know what I'm
my
saying?
players wanted to see that. I think there was just so much emotion in that, and I knew we had it, and it was so I would say that one
just wasn't in the cards, huh?
No.
Well, Coach, listen, I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Good to meet you.
You
Had
too.
fun talking.
This was fun.
Best of luck to you and the
Thank
program,
you.
and I'm gonna be watching moving
All right.
forward.
Thank you.